Heavenly Father, today we put on the full armor to protect us against attack. We put on the belt of truth to protect against lies and deception. We put on the breastplate of righteousness to protect our hearts from the temptations. We put the gospel of peace on our feet to walk in your light, peace, and freedom with the Holy Spirit. We rebuke anxious thoughts. We take up your shield of faith for protection to block and destroy all the darts and threats thrown at us by the enemy. We put on the helmet of salvation to cover our minds and thoughts, reminding us that we are children of a mighty King. We are forgiven, set free, saved by the blood of Jesus. We take up the sword of the Spirit, your living word, that has the power to demolish strongholds and is sharper than any double-edged sword. We come to you, Lord, in prayer daily. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to The Imagination. I'm your host, Emma, and I am so excited for this week's show. Joining me once again for a second time is host of the Christian and Conspiracy podcast, Christian rapper, Army veteran, father, and devoted husband, Josh Monday. Josh's podcast is one I personally listen to and look forward to every single week. And if you enjoy this podcast, you will absolutely love his show. We've shared some of the same guests, and I've learned so much from watching every episode. One of the things that stands out the most about Josh is not only his ability to be a great podcast host, but he also takes it upon himself to be an educator as well, both on his podcast and on all the other podcasts he's been featured on. All the links for his podcast will be in the show notes, and I encourage you to all go ahead to the show notes and connect with Josh on all platforms. One of the episodes I listened to recently on the Christian and Conspiracy podcast was discussing elite Ivy League and high school secret societies, and it blew me away so much that I asked Josh to come and share the information with all of you. This piece connected a lot of dots for me personally, and realizing how our school systems normalize secret societies and ritual abuse on an unconscious level for all of us in the form of exclusive school clubs and fraternities complete with initiation rituals. Because these secret societies aren't hidden and are in plain sight, the infiltration of secret societies into our education systems often gets overlooked. But I would argue to say that this is one of the most important pieces of the secret society puzzle to learn about because of the unconscious and direct influence they have on children and teenagers. The other staggering thing about these lower level secret societies is their massive influence on so many people we see in the public eye, all the way from sports to politics. They seem to function as gateway clubs to higher secret societies such as the Illuminati and Freemasonry, while also offering preferential treatment to specific individuals that get placed into positions of power in our society. It's actually really wild to consider how overlooked and under-researched this huge piece of the secret society puzzle is. Josh does a fantastic job breaking down this topic, and I'm really excited for y'all to hear this episode. Grab a pen and paper and plan on listening to this episode more than once. This information made my head explode, and I have no doubt it will get your wheels turning as well. So you guys, without further ado, help me in welcoming our guest of honor, Christian, biblical wordsmith, voice for the voiceless, alternative historian, podcaster, and whistleblower ally, the one, the only, Josh Monday. Josh,
Good
thank
morning.
you for being here with me today.
Thank you. Good morning. Yeah, our show is Josh Monday Christian and Conspiracy podcast show. You hit the nail on it. And yeah, we just take a conspiracy, show you how it relates to the Bible. And you guys already kind of heard me go over like the biblical side. This time we're going to be going over more of like the conspiracy side. So I started researching this because I just wanted to do a show on skull and bones only, right? I was like, all right, I'm just going to knock out skull and bones and that's it. So as I was researching, it just got really deep. There was a gentleman that I started studying. His name is Ted Gunderson. He's like an ex-FBI director for the FBI. And he said that the Illuminati wants to have as many people in government positions as possible so they can slowly make bills and laws that, you know, the Illuminati agenda, you know, they want to keep pushing, right? They want to create this new world order. So as you look at like the Council of 33 building in Washington, D.C., you go down, they don't allow like civilians in, but this gentleman had gone down to like without the, there's like a, you know, there's like they're walking through with a crowd of people, and he slipped down to the bottom where he's not supposed to go. And he was just going to be like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to go there. But he saw down there that they had like an altar that has like a Torah. It has it has the Torah, it has the Holy Bible, and it has the Talmud all on one like Jewish what is it, like kind of like an altar, basically. So they have all the Bibles at once. So what you're going to notice is they want to come with like a one world religion. So they have all that there, and it's like an altar that the civilians were not supposed to see, that only the Masons would be able to see. So I just thought that was interesting. So you know that the New World Order wants to bring like a one world government, and they also want to bring like a one world religion. So that's just kind of proof of them wanting to do that. So,
Wow.
but yeah, it just got interesting. And for me, I believe what all these secret societies are in colleges and also in high schools, which I found out. I think it's like a draft pick center for like you know, like colleges basically have football teams, and they have a whole bunch of like the best football players in America. They all go to college, and then the NFL gets to draft pick each one that they want. So I believe that these as these people are tapped, it's called, there's like 10 people that are like the top I would say the top elite people of these schools, like Yale or Harvard or any of these Ivy League schools, are actually they're in every college in the United States almost, I think, of just like a secret society. There's only 10 people that get tapped, you would think, of seniors, right? So I think it's kind of like that. It's like a draft pick for the Illuminati, the Freemasons, and these big secret societies to choose from, to make sure, first of all, that you're able to be to take these oaths that they want you to take. You're able to keep secrets, because they say most of the secret societies, like the Skull and Bones and all these big ones, they say that if you tell your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law, your wife, your girlfriend, your mother-in-law, we're going to find out, and you're going to be excommunicated, and you're going to be blackballed from being able to do anything you want to do. And there's also rituals you have to go through where you're kind of releasing information about your sexual past. Like one of them is so weird. It's hard. This is like almost like a Christian show, but they put you in like a coffin, and then they shut the coffin, and they have you create you do a sexual act with yourself. I'll just put it that way. And then you're like releasing all these secrets of your most deepest, darkest sexual secrets, right? So everybody's standing around the coffin, all these guys, right? So they that's just an example. And as you see with like Jeffrey Epstein and all that type of stuff, what they'll do is they'll take these politicians to do those kind of acts on younger girls or younger boys, and they have that on film, so they have dirt on you so that you'll never go and tell. So the rabbit hole gets really deep. But I'll go over a few Bible verses that kind of go with so that if you ever get approached on doing this, and you're in these, you do go to one of these Ivy League schools, then that it's not Christian to do so, right? So we have James 5:12. It says, "But above all things, my brethren, swear not, neither by heaven, neither by earth, neither by any oath, but let your yea be yea, and let your nay be nay." Okay, so that's basically just saying that you don't want to swear anything by heaven. You don't want to do any kind of oaths or anything, right? So no rituals. So Christians, just be aware that joining any of these secret societies, you're going to be doing rituals, and you're almost this is almost like the point where you're like, I would believe you're like selling your soul for money, basically, if that makes sense, right? So
Yeah.
we have that. And then also you got to understand, like, God wants you to do things that are good in secret. So let's say you go and you give money to the poor. Let's say you go and you do certain things. You're going to be rewarded for doing good things in secret and not boasting about it, right? So that's something that God says, right? So if you do something in secret, like and you don't boast, like if you're a philanthropist and you have this big with all these guests, and you're up there and you're like, I just donated $20 million to the poor, and everybody's clapping for you. That's called it's called boasting, right? So God doesn't want you to do that. But when you're doing things that are evil in secret, God says that nothing in Luke 8:17, for nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known or come abroad. So what he's saying is all that evil stuff you're doing is going to come out. It's going to be shouted from the highest. I think one of the verses say it's going to be shouted from the highest rooftop, right? So all this stuff that they're doing that's evil in secret is going to come out.
It's like the version of that Bible verse.
Yes. So I think what happens is God, he definitely wants us to do stuff. He wants us to pray in secret sometimes. Like on my show, I pray at the end, and it is in front of an audience, but I'm trying to pray for people, right? But he wants you to pray in secret. He doesn't want it always to be like you standing on the corner praying so that you look like, oh, that guy's so holy. Look at him. He's praying every single minute, right, of the day, like they used to do in the synagogues, right? They would pray. They would never even pray in secret. They're only praying in front of the people so that they think that they're so holy, right? So God says we're saved by grace through faith. And it says, it is not of yourselves. It is a gift from God, not by works, so that no man shall boast. So I just want to let you guys know that. I think that we should, all this stuff that they do, why would they have to do it in secret if it's not evil, right?
Not to mention too, the only time we do see, say, Freemasons are when they are standing on the street holding their little, donations for children sign, going to the Shriner Hospital. Like they do boast everything that they do publicly, right?
Yes.
All the good, that's what they're boasting about. And then it's like, well, if you're doing that in public and that's what you're saying that you do, why is it a secret society? Like, what are the secrets, right? And that's where this rabbit hole opens.
Yeah, and those people that are doing that too are like lower level Masons. So when you approach them and say, "Hey, got to be careful when you go up the ladder," Satan's at the top. They're like, "Are you kidding me?" They're like the Blue Lodge, right? So they are doing, but it's like a work based thing for them. They think that they're going to go to heaven by works, but God says we're saved by grace through faith, right? So it's a Gnostic religion that they have in the Freemason in that area. But this area we're going to concentrate on is going to be like secret societies, like I found out in high school, which is crazy to me, and then in college, right? And I wasn't able to break down every high school in the United States, okay, because I don't have time to do that type of crazy research. But I did find 8 colleges that are like, the reason why I found these colleges, or I'm sorry, these high schools, is because I was studying the Bush family, because I was studying Skull and Bones. And I just was like, I started going as far back as I could in lineage. And also I wanted to find out, I was like, you know what, wonder what high school they went to. And when I found that out, I found out there was a secret society that George Bush had gone to. It's called the Skull and Wreath. It's a high school secret society that George Bush Sr. was in. And also his son was also in, right? And this is a high school. And
where's it located at? Do you know?
Yeah, I do know. This one is going to be located, it's in Andover, Massachusetts. So you're gonna find out that there's a bunch in like Connecticut, Massachusetts. There's like the East Coast right there. There's like a little cesspool right there where Yale, Harvard, Columbia, like Pennsylvania is kind of below that, where all those elite colleges are, is where a lot of these high schools are located. So we have Connecticut, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and New Hampshire is where these are at. I'll name the high schools that I found. They're like 8 preparatory schools. These things range from $60,000 to $70,000 a year to actually attend. Right. So you got to have money to attend these high schools. The one that I found is Phillips Academy, Andover, is the one that I found that George Bush attended. And the secret society was called the Skulls and Wreath Secret Society. Okay. You guys can look it up. It's a high school secret society. So what it is, so it's Phillips and it had basically the people that have attended this school, this is just a high school, is George W. Bush Sr., right? And he was in that secret society. And then you got George Bush Jr., he's also a president, that he was in that secret society. Joseph Quincy III, he's like he was like an ambassador for the United States. All these different people. I don't want to name all the people off because you probably have never heard of them. But if you want to look it up, you just click their names. Like Edgar Rice Burroughs, for example, if you click his name, you're going to see that he was like either an actor or he's like in the news media, somebody high up, a CEO of a company. Also, like you're going to see authors. So everybody that's going to have an effect on the United States, these are going to be part of these high schools. Mark Zuckerberg was also part of these high schools, and I never knew because I thought he was just some random dude that made Facebook at Harvard.
That's what they tell us.
That's what they tell us. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, why would he go to these schools? And Humphrey Bogart is like a big actor. He went to this school. Jack Lemmon, he's a big time actor that went to the school. Here's another thing. Bill Belichick, he's like a 7-time Super Bowl winner. He was for the New England Patriots. He attended this school, and so did the owner of the Patriots. He also attended the school, right? It's the same exact school. So you got this guy that you would think like I think the world is like a stage sometimes, and some people do feel like maybe sports could be fixed. So you got Bill Belichick going to this school, and also the owner of the Patriots going to this school. So he might have been brought in like that, and they win all these Super Bowl championships. And Tom Brady, if you look into his past, his wife would do rituals before his games and set up, and she would do like witchcraft for him. So when he would go play. So, there's just things like this that I'm noticing. I'm like, wow. So is this the point where the devil says, hey, Bill Belichick, do you want to be on God's side, or do you want to be on my side? This is the time where you can sell your soul. And then you end up being brought to the forefront and be able to be that head coach of that team and win those Super Bowls. Right. And this is obviously me just speculating, but it's just, I'm noticing a pattern here of these high elite people going to these schools, state representatives, New York state representative, governors, all this different people going to these schools. Like, why were they chosen for those government positions?
Right.
I think they're chosen because they could keep these secrets, and they're part of these secret societies. And now people would say, oh, well, they're just rich elite people that end up making it in government. Well, how come it's supposed to be the people that are able to go to gather up and become part of government? It's not supposed to be only these elite. A lot of them are elite white people, right? That end up in these secret societies. They didn't even allow black people in these secret societies, right? So it's or anybody of color, all elite, rich white people. It's like, man, and I'm white, okay, guys, so I could say this. It's just to me, it's like, it's
it's like how you say about it being like a training ground or a grooming.
That's what I think it is. I think it's a grooming. They want to test you to find out how far you could go, how good you could keep a secret. There's so many top secret things in the government, like even when I was going over flat earth, there's certain things that you have to be able to, secrets you have to be able to hold, right? When you find them out, and you're not going to be able to
start somebody when they're like, say, high school, college level, their brain isn't fully developed yet. So they're so susceptible to that suggestion piece,
Yeah, and honestly, I've never walked in a rich person's shoes. I've never been rich, so I don't want to judge these people, because I can imagine how it is when you're like the son of George Bush, and he's like, you better get A's. You're going to be the next president. You're going to be groomed to be the president. So that's probably a lot of pressure on them. So from a Christian point of view, I'm like, hey, I don't want to judge you, but from a conspiracy point of view, it's kind of like it's not all coincidence that all these people are at these schools, right? What you're going to find also besides that, you're going to find like Supreme Court justice people. You're going to find higher ups in the military, like generals for war, right? You're going to find Nobel Prize winners, Academy Award winners, Grammy Award winners, people that do, that own Fox. The CEO of Fox Corporation was actually there. The CEO of Coors went to these high schools. The CEO of Budweiser, just a ton of people. People that wrote poetry, people that are in Newsweek magazine, best-selling authors. All these different people went to these 8 schools. All right. People that are going to be able to affect America with agendas. And we have no idea, So I just think that it's an Illuminati cesspool where these people are being chosen to do these agendas, and there's a whole list of people. If you look into it, you'll be able to see. I don't really want to go through all these ones that are in these just in these schools, but we have like for example, the Andover school that I'm talking about. Jeb Bush went there. We also had George Bush, Patrick J. Kennedy, a representative for Rhode Island, governor of Maine, mayor of Boston, the president of Harvard University, all these different people, U.S. senators, also President Lincoln's son also attended this school as well, right? So it's all the way back to like the 1700s when America was founded. These schools started, right? And they're all in that same area. So that's just an example. But what was surprising to me is that there's even a secret society that's accepted by the Skull and Bones in the first place, right?
Right.
This one is accepted. The Skull and Wrath is actually accepted by Skull and Bones as a secret society. And I think for the secret societies in college to qualify, that's who is like their it has to be accepted by those type of secret societies. There's plenty of fraternities in college, right? That are just more for partying, meeting people, and you getting a job, in a way. But the secret society ones are a little different, right?
Right.
So any questions on anything I went over so far?
No, I just want to say, I mean, this is so important when we consider that we have a perception as a society. Parents look at other parents whose children go to, say, private schools, or they're paying a lot, with almost envy, and feel bad about, oh my gosh, my child has to go to public school, and we don't think about what is the agenda behind, why is a school private and what's the difference, and why are people paying, $60,000 to $70,000 a year per child to go to these schools, right? It's like, I don't know, to me, it's amazing to me that we've never considered to ask why, or what could the agenda be, or how are the students selected that are going to these high schools, elementary schools, middle schools that are considered private. I think you mentioned in your last podcast, like, are they looking at blood tests and DNA tests of these kids and saying, oh, what bloodline are you from? And, whose child are you? And what family line do you come through? And if you don't meet that criteria, we're going to not even look at your application. So I think it has such a big impact on children who don't have the ability to critically think and to, have a voice. And I think as parents and adults, we need to be educated on the things that we're getting excited to send our children to, whether it's a fraternity in college or a private school. That way we're understanding what, that fine line that we're walking, just like what you said. Are we walking with God, or are we starting to veer off, So I really appreciate that you're bringing this to our attention.
Yeah. And also what you're going to find in these 8 schools that I studied is you're going to find princes from other countries like Saudi Arabia, Jordan. They're coming over here, going to these high schools. Like, what is that for? Well, it's because they want to get used to the people that are going to be in government in America, because they're going to be working with them later in life. So they know already that these people are going to be higher up and in power. So they're meeting all these people. And so then when they go back to Jordan, now this ambassador or this prince is already going to know all these people already. So they're going to have this relationship with them. And why would you be sending a prince from, Jordan over to Andover High School in Connecticut? Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense at all to me. I'm like, he has higher education there he could go to, right? Why would he come over here to America? So they're just, it's just too much of a coincidence of the people that I was seeing, and all these politicians, people that ran for presidents, and everything. So if you guys want to look into that a little further, I think I named off the high schools for you guys to look into. I think it was more. It was. Did I name them off yet? I don't know if I did. Hold on. I'll name them off right now. So It's Choate Rosemary Hall in Wallingford, Connecticut, Deerfield Academy, the Hotchkiss School, the Lawrenceville School, the Northfield Mount Hermon School, Phillips Academy Andover. That's the one that George Bush Sr. and George Bush Jr. went to. Phillips Exeter Academy and St. Paul's School. Okay, that's it. And the way they're called the 8 Schools Association. They're all college preparatory schools in the Northeast United States. And there's probably way more. So if anybody says, oh, I know there's like 500 other ones, I just haven't found those yet. So, just be easy on me. That's just the ones that I found, right? And if you look all of those up, all you got to do is click on them. And then you go down to basically it says the notable alumni. And then you will see just every single person. And some of them they hide. They won't even they won't put any alumni. They don't want anybody to even know they went to that school. When you see that, you're like, wow. One person I found pretty interesting. He's actually on a show with Sam Tripoli, Brian Callen. He went to Deerfield Academy, right? And I started looking into his past, and And if him or anybody that listens to that show, I'm not saying that he's paid opposition or control opposition. All I'm telling you is he went to one of these schools. So that's kind of interesting. He became an actor and kind of big in the industry, and now he's on a conspiracy show denying conspiracies. So you have Sam Tripoli telling him about conspiracies, and he's over here denying all of them, right? I can't remember what the show's called. Conspiracy, not Castle, Conspiracy something. Do you know which one I'm referring to?
I think so. I'm trying to think of it.
It's Brian Callen and and Sam Tripoli. They're both on the same show, and like I said, I love Sam Tripoli. I've been on his show before. He's super nice, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that maybe Brian Callen, the reason why he's denying all these conspiracies, he's probably been raised in that more than we think. He probably knows way more than we think, and he's just denying it because he has to keep his Hollywood career going, right? So, thought that was interesting. You know, having a person in our industry that actually went to one of these schools.
Yeah.
Okay, so next we could get into the Skull and Bones, right? The Skull and Bones is one of the major ones that everybody knows of. One of the founding members of the Skull and Bones is Alfonso Taft. He helped create the Skull and Bones, and what I thought was interesting, he was the founding member, and then his son is William Howard Taft, which he becomes the president of the United States and also the Chief Justice. And then he brings in two of his cabinet members. They also were Skull and Bones. So you see that Alfonso Taft, they started the Skull and Bones with the Russell family, with William Huntington Russell. Those are like the two founding members of the Skull and Bones. And then his son ends up joining the Skull and Bones at Yale, right? Which is William Howard Taft, and he becomes the president of the United States. Okay, that is no coincidence. Okay, that just shows you the amount of power that these secret societies have, right? And William Huntington Russell is, you're gonna find out, is part of the 13 Illuminati bloodlines in a book that was by Fritz Springmeier. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he did he started as the 13 Illuminati bloodlines, and then he just said the Illuminati bloodlines because he found so many more. But the Russell family is very popular in the United States for being part of like the Illuminati, the railway system, and working with the Rockefellers and all these different people that are in these elite bloodlines. Another one is Charles Tate Russell. He's the founding member of the Jehovah's Witness, and if you find his tombstone, you're gonna see a giant pyramid with like a Rosicrucian cross on it. So just letting you guys know about the Russell family. The two people that started it is the Taft family and also the Russell family. So that's who started the Skull and Bones. And if you study anything about the Illuminati American bloodlines, you're going to see that those names are going to come across. Okay.
What year was that started?
I think it was started in, let me see if I have a year. I think it was 1800s, but let me see.
I was wondering if that one was close to the 1776 date that a lot of things revolve around.
I know Yale started in the 1700s. Skull and Bones. I could look it up easy. I should have had that, huh?
Oh, you're good. There's so much information on this to look up. It's like you said, one rabbit hole after another.
Yes, for sure. Let's see. So 1832 is when it formed.
Wow. Okay.
And Yale is also in Connecticut, right? So it's going to be right there. New Haven, Connecticut. Where else is in New Haven? Sandy Hook, right? So I thought that was kind of interesting that Sandy Hook happened in New Haven. And I don't know if you ever studied that. I don't want to jump off subject, but it's really, really interesting how that is, that's there. So we have that. So we have the founding members. You notice that one of the founding members already used his power already by bringing his son in as a president, right? And then also became like the Supreme Court justice, only president to ever do that. So you're going to find just so many different families that have been in Skull and Bones, right? There's going to be like the Harriman family, the Rockefeller family, the Payne family, the Davison family, the Taft family, Pillsbury, and Warehouse. Weyerhause, right? If you look up those families, you're going to find out that those are a bunch of people that are massive families in the United States that had the railroad system, CEOs of companies, and the Rockefellers. Obviously, you guys know about them. You know, they bought out the educational system, and they made sure that everybody is trained up as slaves, so that we're always working for the rich, right? That's what always happens. We're okay working for the rich. We don't want to become, rich ourselves. We just want to. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the rich that they are, the elite. We're just, we're just trained to be like that, right?
Yep.
And then when you go to school, you're basically like institutionalized. You're following a program, you're going to lunch, you're getting out. And I believe there's just a whole bunch of indoctrination in schools where you're learning what they want you to learn, right?
Exactly.
And and people feel like I'm well educated, but then I think you're well indoctrinated. You're learning exactly what they want you to learn, and they're mad about me learning about through a Bible, which is a book, but then they're learning from book after book after book and get indoctrinated,
Yes.
right?
That's what when I was listening to your episode, I was thinking, gosh, how odd, and understanding that our history is rewritten, that we're rewarded in society and we're looked highly upon if we get degrees, if we spend the most time in school. It's almost like we're rewarding the most indoctrinated, like the most brainwashed people get rewarded in society, and then the rest of us are trained to feel inferior to them because maybe we are critical thinkers or we didn't fit into that mold. We're the ones left out, and they're the ones that are respected, that get the highest paid job, that get media attention. And it is very interesting, and it does bring to mind a lot of these questions that we need answers to.
Yeah, and they are what happens is, as you keep going through college, there's like a big block that's be put between you and God, right? Because there's evolution, Big Bang, heliocentric, this, that, all these different things that are blocking you from God. So it separates you from God. So that's a main thing where I think that people need to be grounded in the Word, So
100%.
And another way that this is some of Fritz Springmeier's research that I kind of looked into. Excuse me. Another way the Illuminati and the Skull and Bones connect is there was a group of seniors that broke into the Skull and Bones building. It's called the Tomb, and they wrote down the ritual that was written on the wall. I guess it was written in German. So there was a top Freemason a long time ago, James Robinson. He saw the Illuminati kind of coming into the lodges and trying to illuminate the Freemasons, and he didn't like it. So he wrote an expose called Proof of a Conspiracy, where he wrote the ritual to get into the reagent level of the Bavarian Illuminati. And that same ritual was written on the wall in the tomb for the Skull and Bones. So you can connect those two. So your James Robinson was like in the 17 or 1800s, right? He wrote this ritual down, and then these kids broke into the tomb and they saw the same exact ritual written in German on the wall, right? So that's a pretty good connection that he found there, or they found actually. And I'm also going to show you how the Skull and Bones kind of came into our society, the power that they actually have. So in 2004 election, the Republican ticket of incumbent was President George W. Bush, Jr., and his running mate is Vice President Dick Cheney, right? And they were going against John Kerry and then John Edwards. So John Kerry is a member of the Skull and Bones class of 68, and then George Bush Jr. was a class of 68, and John Kerry was a class of 66. So you have the two president election going against each other. The top people of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are both Skull and Bones going up against each other. So it went all the way to the top of the pyramid of the United States power basis structure in 2004. And also what you're going to see, what you're going to notice, Dick Cheney, he also went to Yale as well. And that gentleman, if you look into him, I believe that they got George Bush in to get Dick Cheney in power, really. And I think he was kind of running it. Even when 9/11 happened, George Bush was reading a book, sitting there reading a book in a classroom. 9/11 happens. What they're supposed to do is they're supposed to get him out of there immediately and take him into a bunker or somewhere safe, because they don't know if America's going to get attacked from all different angles once that happened, right? But he was just sitting in the classroom. They allowed him to just sit there, keep reading. He got told in his ear that just happened. You see the look on his face, doesn't look like he's surprised. It's almost like he knew it was going to happen. And Dick Cheney was taken, brought to an underground bunker. and they were already allowing him to run the process. They were asking him questions. Do you want us to send out choppers? Do you want us to send out jets? Do you want us to do this? And he was saying, my order still stands. And so Dick Cheney seems like he was running stuff while George Bush is sitting in a classroom reading a book that was upside down. I don't know, it was called like The Pet Goat or something. So that, I'm just letting you guys know that Dick Cheney, I think, was the one that they wanted to get in. They wanted Dick Cheney and President Bush to get in and to be able to run that big psyop of 9/11 on the people, right? So here's another example, like George Bush Sr. He's skull and bones. He went up against Bill Clinton in the 1992 election. So George Bush Sr. was he was in a secret society at Phillips Academy, the one I told you guys about. He was also a Skull and Bones member. He's also Trilateral Commission, CFR, Bilderberg Group, all these different secret societies. He also was talking about bringing in a New World Order, right? So when he was president, and then you have he was also part of it's called the Nas Brotherhood, which is another secret society at Baylor University. So he went to Baylor University and he went to Yale. So he was already part of 3 secret societies already that we know before he was even out of college, right? So you could see how he was raised up. He was also the head of the CIA at one time. He became just all these different big things in government. Now, Bill Clinton, he was also a member of the Demolay, which is like Freemason, right? The lower level. So before he got out of high school, he was already indoctrinated, and he was also a Yale alumni. I can't connect Bill Clinton to the Skull and Bones, but he was a Yale alumni. So was Hillary Clinton. They both were, right? So you have the 1992 election. You got one guy that was Skull and Bones, the Nas Brotherhood, and also the Phillips Academy, the Skull and Wrench, against a guy that was Order of Demolay already. So raised up out of high school, went to Yale Alumni College. And I was trying to connect him with some of these secret societies, but sometimes they don't they don't name them all. Some of the secret societies they have, they don't name the alumni. So Bill Clinton could have been part of one of those when he was there,
Well, it's interesting to me that if obviously they call these secret societies for a reason, and most people aren't self-educated and they don't ask these questions, but we see a presidential representative, and all that we look at is what party line are they on, and then we focus on who's the best pick out of our party line, Republican, Democrat, that we want to vote for, instead of what did this person do before they got in office? Where did they go to middle school? Where did they go to high school? Where did they go to college? What extracurricular activities were they involved in? And like you said, you realize that these really are 2 wings of the same bird. They're 2 people on the same team fighting for the same exact outcome. No matter who you vote for, it's the same. And this
they're
really
selected, I think.
Yes.
I think it's a selection and not an election. You're not, if you went to like San Bernardino Valley College, which is like a junior college here in next to Rialto, and you just go to a regular college, you're probably not going to end up becoming the president of the United States. You have to be selected through this group of people, and there's some examples also of different people we probably wouldn't know, like you're either going to go to Yale, these Ivy League schools, or you're going to go to a Jesuit school. So like Donald Trump, for example, and
what's the difference for people who are kind of new to these terms?
Well, the Jesuits they're different than the Illuminati, but they all work together. They're all just, there's like a pyramid, I would say, and they're supposed to be like the world monastery on top, which is like the top real people running the world. We don't know if that's the Orsini family, which is like the gray Pope. A lot of people say that the papal bloodlines run the world, or we don't know if it's like King Charles III running everything at this moment. We don't know if it's the Black Pope, but there's that person at the top, and then it just keeps going down. There's like the Council of 13, which is like these secret bloodline families that are like the second in charge. And then you have the Committee of 300, the Council of 33 would be after that. Then you have the Committee of 300, and then you have the Black nobility like up there as well. And we don't know where all that, who's number 1, who's number 2, who's number 3, and those power, because who knows, but I know the Committee of 300 is ran by King Charles III. He also has like the Order of Garter, which is like the top of the Freemasons. So he's going to run that section. The Freemasons have like the York Rite, the Scottish Rite. The York Rite are like the Knights of Malta, the Knights Templar, and that section would be York Rite. The top of that is he's like one of the dukes of England or the British monastery. And then on the other side, you have the Scottish Rite Freemasons. That's one where you see the degrees, like the Blue Lodge is like 1 through 3. And then above that is going to be all the way to 33 degrees. They do say there's higher levels, but we just don't know about them, right? But at the very top of all this pyramid is going to be Lucifer, the light bearer. That's the top. And he's basically, I believe in the Bible, it says that angels can come down in the form of humans when they're here, right? So I do believe that Satan could be in human form, running these secret societies, giving agendas, fallen angels. I think that we are having help from fallen angels, especially it's very pertinent after the Roswell incident happened, right, in like 1942. You see the technology from when that point happened to now. It's not alien technology. It's just the government working with fallen angels, and demons, right? And you see the technology flourish. Now, if you go back to the book of Enoch, which is not canon, you're going to notice the same thing happening. Once the fallen angels came and they talked to humans, their technology, their weapons of war, makeup, everything that people do now, it's in the book of Enoch, right? I'm not talking about Enoch 1 and 2. That's Gnostic text. I'm talking about the book of Enoch, which is different. I can't trace the book of Enoch to Enoch himself, historicity wise. So I don't know if he wrote it or who wrote it. So that's why I don't really fall on that. But the Jesuits they formed in like 1540. The Jesuits are like through the Catholic Church. I think they're like the military order of the Catholic Church, the Vatican. They have been infiltrating school systems. They've been infiltrating government ever since they first started. They were they hated the Protestants, right? They didn't like the Protestants. They wanted to keep the Catholic Church wanted to keep the traditions. The Protestants wanted to be more by the word of God. So Martin Luther, there was like a Reformation that happened, and the Jesuits were started to combat the Protestants. That's how it was. So when the Jesuits started, I know this is going to be a long part of the explanation, but when the Jesuits started, they were more with the monastery kings and with the Vatican and the Pope. The Pope wanted to keep his kingship, right? So they wanted they're fighting for the Pope, but there's people that are above the Pope. When you find out there's like a black Pope, which is like above in the Jesuits. And then there's the gray Pope, which is like the papal bloodline top family, right? There's like the Orsini family, the Colonna family. If you guys look this up at the Franceschi family and a whole bunch of other ones I have on a list I don't want to pull up, but that's a whole different power structure. Then you have the Freemasons that came to America, that started America, the George Washingtons and all them. So we have the Freemasons in America, the Jesuits with the monasteries, and they didn't want a democracy. So they were all fighting with each other. So the Jesuits decided to send a bunch of Catholics over here, Irish Catholics, and all these Catholics to get into government and combat the Freemasons. And then finally they joined together. So now they're all like one. So it's family. Yes, there's just a lot of different stuff I've learned throughout the time. And there's families in the black nobility that run these organizations. There's papal bloodlines from Italy that are like the Orsinis, the Colonnas, and then there's like the Hanovers and the Hess family and the black nobility. And it's just a bunch of rabbit holes that is too hard to explain in 10 minutes, but that's kind of a good explanation of it. There's separate secret societies that are on like a pyramid, or Gary Wine puts it like a tree, so that it basically branches off. And there's all these little secret societies on that, like you'll see in the city, like you'll see Freemasons, then you'll see like the Moose Lodge, then you'll see like the Rotary Club. Those are like the smaller ones of the Freemasons, and they have no idea what's going on when they're sacrificing people in the top levels of Freemasonry. They just think, oh, these people are good they're like Boy Scouts, they think, but they're not,
No. Right. 100%. No, thank you for that. I think just learning about secret societies in general, the Jesuits are definitely one that people don't know about as much. And I think it's just equally as interesting to understand their, the mark that they make on the education system. So let's go back to Trump, because
Trump was in, he went to Jesuit. He went to Georgetown University. That's a Jesuit school. I couldn't trace Donald Trump back to any secret society, but if you look up Donald Trump, and no offense to anybody that's supporting him, I supported him too. I actually did a song because I was mad about the election at one time. I was kind of brainwashed at the time, I was in the military. Yeah, so I was like, oh, the election, no, that was, so I made a song about it, right? So that's how like brainwashed a little bit I was until I just started studying everything. But anyways, yeah, so he went to a Jesuit school, so that's just an example. I don't have him in secret societies per se, but he's Jesuit trained, right? You would say. Also, if you look up our current president, I was like, you know what? Let me see what he's about. He's part of the Friars, which is Pennsylvania University, which is one of the Ivy League schools. Pennsylvania University is part of the Friars, so he was also part of a secret society. So we have that. And also have a connection between Skull and Bones and the Council of Foreign Relations. So Winston Lord, a prominent member of Skull and Bones, he became the president of the Council on Foreign Relations. It's called the CFR. If you guys look into that, that's a major, foreign. It's not part of America. Okay, this is like private organizations that run the world. Okay, there's like the Bilderberg Group, the CFR, the Club of Rome. That's another section that you're going to see. They're like a think tanks. Or the Tavistock Institute is another one. They're like think tanks for all these elites to go to. The World Economic Forum, that's another one. That's becoming major right now. So these are all think tanks for all these elites to go to and just push all these agendas through the media, through books, through everything. That's where they're making all their big plans, right? So I had that connection. It just gets deeper and deeper. I would go through everybody that's in the Skull and Bones, but their main like Hall of Fame would be like Alfonso Taft. He was the founding member. William Howard Taft. He became the only president ever to become president of the United States and Chief Justice on the Supreme Court. Henry Louis Stimson is one that they said. He was like a Wall Street law firm. He was the Secretary of War under William Taft, Governor of the Philippines, Secretary of State under Herbert Hoover. And then Herbert Hoover was also in the Skull and Bones. He's a big Secretary of State. And then there's also was a president. And then we have a Secretary of War, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He's also part of Skull and Bones. Averell Harriman, investment banker, Robert Levitt. All these people I'm just reading off is just, you probably might not know who they are, but if you look into their names, you're going to find out that they're Secretary of War, Deputy Secretary of Defense, leading member of the New York Council on Foreign Relations. So that's big when you're in the conspiracies. You're like, okay, Council of Foreign Relations, Jeffrey Epstein, Council of Foreign Relations. Okay, these people, these big names, you're going to find out they're part of these Illuminati think tanks, right? I already went over. Okay, there's Robert Taft. That's another one. He's a United States Senator. He's brother of Taft. Prescott Bush is another one. Prescott Bush is George Bush's father. He was an investment banker. George Bush Sr.'s father. He's an investment banker. He was actually part of the stock market crash that happened. Him and John F. Kennedy's father, part of the stock market crash that happened. They crashed the stock market. They bought all these companies at a low price. So did the Vatican Bank. And then all the companies raised back up, and they made tons of money off of it, right? And they're also part of a lot of the oil industry, right? The oil industry. So that's why you see George Bush Sr. on the morning of 9/11 having dinner with the Bin Laden family. Okay, they're eating dinner together, both of them oil mongols eating dinner together, and then 9/11 happens, and then he flies his family back to Saudi Arabia, right? The Bin Laden family flies them back when every other flight was stopped. Nobody could go anywhere. He ends up flying them back to Saudi Arabia, right? So you see the type of power that this gentleman has. I'm going to read off George Bush's little backstory, okay? The senior. United States Congressman, Chairman of the Republican National Committee, United States Ambassador of the United Nations, First American Diplomatic Liaison of the People's Republic in China, Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, Vice President of the United States, and then he became the President of the United States as well. Okay, so think about that. Think about that kind of power that he had running in as a CIA director, right? This is a little after the Kennedy assassination. I think he was put to the test by these people at that time, whether he can hold a secret or not. Is he was part of the CIA when this happened. Some people say he was in Texas when it happened because this gentleman is from Texas. And that I'm not saying that George Bush Sr. Assassinated John F. Kennedy. I'm just telling you he was there. And I think he has some information, because I don't believe that it was that gentleman Oswald that did that. That's a whole different show. But,
Right.
We have George Bush Jr. was also in the Skull and Bones. Okay, so as we know, and it's just the rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper. You're gonna find out that there's a lot of Rockefellers and all these people too, founders and CEOs of companies like Pan America Airway, a bunch of railway CEOs that were all part of it. A lot of Secretary of Defense. The reason why you're going to see a lot of Secretary of Defense in Skull and Bones is because William Taft ends up becoming like president of the United States. And then part of his cabinet that he brings in, two of them happen to be Skull and Bones, or they're going to be probably some other secret society. And he's going to bring them all in. And, it gets interesting. Also, another guy that's very, very popular is Henry Luce. He's the founder of and publisher of Time and Life magazine. This gentleman is occult, secret society to the core. If you look that guy up, and he was also Skull and Bones. So that's kind of my definition and my presentation on the Skull and Bones. Okay. There's also an interesting thing. They have their own island. Okay. It's called Deer Island. It's where they meet up with past alumni and they enjoy their little rich nuances.
Where's this? I didn't know that.
It's called Deer Island. It's like in Connecticut. There's like an island that they have. So we know what happens on islands, right?
Yeah.
I've heard somebody own an island before, and they were bringing these kids to this island. They were convincing parents to allow them to have these kids come to islands, and they were doing all this bad stuff, filming stuff. So whenever, I'm not saying that Skull and Bones, Deer Island are doing anything like that, but I've noticed when rich elite people have an island where nobody is there, it always ends up not being a good thing, right? They're not they're not just drinking beer with girls, they're doing stuff that is definitely evil. So
100%.
All right, so we have that. And then as I was studying the Skull and Bones, I was like, well, what else is there? Is there other secret societies just in Yale in particular? Is there other secret societies in different colleges? And you're going to find out that, yes, there is. In Yale, for example, we have a secret society called the Wolf's Head Secret Society. That was formed in 1884. So all this stuff is like usually in the 1800s. And I found out that George Bush's great-great-grandfather was one of the founding members of the Wolf's Head Secret Society. And they concentrate a lot on media focus and then on politicians. Okay. So for their members. And so George Bush Sr., right? Not George Bush Sr., sorry. George Bush's great-great-grandfather, it was James Smith Bush. He was one of the founding members of the Wolf's Head Secret Society. So you have him, one of the founding members of the Wolf's Head Secret Society. You have his son, Prescott Bush, in the Skull and Bones. And then you have his this guy's great-grandson, George Bush Sr. in the Skull and Bones. Then you have George Bush Jr. in the Skull and Bones. And if you look up the amount of power that these people had, the Bush political family is a lot of massive power, and it's a lot of massive power. And they were all into the New World Order stuff. And, as you see, they were all, all about secret society and CFR, Council of Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg Group. They were all involved in that. So it's like, it's just crazy. So once I found that out, I was like, wow, okay, so I could connect that to this. There's also another secret society. It's called the Scroll and Key. That's another one that you guys can look up. So we got Skull and Bones, the Wolf's Head Society, and then the Scroll and Key. Look up that. It was kind of hard to find a lot of information on all the alumni of that. If I went through the alumni though, you guys are gonna find a lot of, same thing, state representatives, Connecticut governors, and all this different stuff. You're gonna find a lot of power, right? So we have that. There's another one called Brazilith. I don't know how to spell it, but I can't find any members on that. So there must have been some people that were massively in power and in that one because they're not giving me notable alumni. So, and a lot of it is top secret to where they won't allow you to look up the people, you know. But you're gonna find a lot of in Yale. I found a lot of like Rockefellers and all these Illuminati members in these secret societies. So, any questions on any of that stuff?
That is so wild. Well, one of the things that it brings to mind to me too is we've watched in the news, at least I have growing up, you periodically hear about somebody dying or being severely injured at an initiation ritual to get into, a fraternity in a college, and it brings to mind to me just how again, overlooked this is, because a lot of these, we don't even know all the rituals that go on in these secret societies, especially in these, higher level ones, say Skull and Bones. Like, we have some whistleblowers that have come out, but it's like, what else are they doing during that time? There's probably a lot of stuff that we've never heard of that just stays under wrapped. But it's just fascinating to me that we accept this so innocently almost, and we look at it as this fun, extracurricular thing for our children to be involved with, whether it is secret or not. But either way, just in regular fraternities, there have been people that have died, doing initiation rituals. And I just ask society to say, why are we okay with this? And why are we allowing, our most precious and vulnerable population to get anywhere near this, especially if you're a Christian, understanding that this stuff does not by any standards meet anything that Jesus had to say to us about what he wants us to do, and especially what he would want our children to do.
Yeah, and don't think that the Christian schools don't have these secret societies. Trinity University, which is like supposed to be a Christian school, has a secret society that they won't even allow me to see the notable alumni. I want to see that. Like who's on that list, so, and don't think that the Freemasons haven't infiltrated the churches either, because there's Baptist ministers that are Freemasons. You see the ones that are on TV talking about, give us 5,000 and God will give you 50,000, those type of people, those people, look into them. Yeah, you'll see. So, and also the Skull and Bones, like you were talking about the rituals. Well, they actually went and dug up the bones of Geronimo, an Indian, and they stole the bones, brought it to Skull and Bones. So they have those bones there, and the Geronimo family wanted to sue Skull and Bones. But what happened was when Geronimo was buried in whatever it was, 1700s, there was no law against digging that up. So they went back to that law, and they said, well, it wasn't a crime to do it when it was buried. So they allowed them to keep the bones. I'm like, what? That's crazy. So yeah, some of their rituals to getting in and everything, unbelievably, believe me, guys, they're not doing rituals where they're putting which you're not supposed to swear on the Bible anyways, but they're not putting their hand on the Bible. I solemnly swear that allegiance to Jesus Christ. No, they're not doing that whatsoever. It's the total opposite of that. Plus, God says, you can only serve one master, God or mammon. Mammon means the god of money. So money, the love of money is the root of all evil, right? So that's why all this stuff, power, money, it's really enticing for people, right? But thank God that we're not under that spell that they're under, right? So
yes, thank God.
Thank God. So okay, so I have other secret societies too. So if you look up Harvard, they have the Pig Club, or it's called the Porcelain Club. And some of their members was President Theodore Roosevelt, right? Richard Whitney, he's the president of the New York Stock Exchange. That's just some of the two notable members. There's another one called the Fly Club. Franklin D. Roosevelt are members of that, and also Jared Kushner. There's a guy named Oliver Wendell Holmes. He was the Supreme Court Justice. Jay Rockefeller, U.S. Senator from West Virginia. James Roosevelt, son of Franklin Roosevelt, U.S. Congressman. Deval Patrick, 71st governor of Massachusetts. William Weld, 68th governor of Massachusetts. Tony Lake, President Bill Clinton's national secretary advisor. Jared Kushner, he is actually the son of, he's married to Donald Trump's daughter, right? He is a financier. He owns a building in New York at 666. I think it's Main Street Avenue, something like that. He actually went in a bidding war, tried to do everything he could to get this building. They were making microchips in this building, okay, for which, what you would think for the mark of the beast, stuff like that. So just letting you guys know, Jared Kushner, he's actually making peace over in Israel. They were looking at him like he might be the Messiah, right? Like they were looking at him literally like he was the Messiah because he was trying to build the third temple there. Jared Kushner, okay? He was a senior White House advisor, head of the House Office of American Invitation, and he's a financier. Jared Kushner was in that secret society. Joseph Clark grew career diplomat, U.S. ambassador to Japan, oversaw the development of United States Foreign Service. Charles Francis Adams III. And like I said, some of these people, you're not going to recognize their name, but they're big parts of power like that you don't understand. They're part of this power infrastructure of the Illuminati. They're doing stuff that we're not going to be able to see, you know, and you're not going to know the names of most of the people that are mainly in power. But these, if you click on their names, you're going to find out this big long list of stuff that they've done for the government, right? You're just like, wow. So this is all part of, that was the Fly Club, right? So then we have another one. We have, we have John F. Kennedy was part of another one that was an all male club at Harvard called the S3E Club. Okay. And also David Rockefeller, American banker, was part of the Fly Club. That's another one. So once you see the Rockefeller name, that's one of the names that you see, and you're like, okay, that's Illuminati for sure. You know, so we have that. And then Robert F. Kennedy was also part of the S3E Club, right? And then Joshua Kushner, that gentleman is Jared Kushner's brother, American businessman and investor. Kermit Roosevelt Jr., CIA officer, grandson of U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt. Philip Roosevelt, World War I captain and banker. Tweed Roosevelt, American businessman. So those are all people that are part of, it's called the S3E Club, you know, so those are some big names, right? And then there is another secret. Okay, there's also a thing called the Ancient Nine. I looked up, and I don't know who the people are, who the Ancient Nine are, but they're supposedly a secret society within the secret societies at Harvard. They're called the Ancient Nine. So look into that. I can't find that much information on it. I've been trying to, but that's something that if you want to dig into a rabbit hole, look up the Ancient Nine. And then there's another secret society at Harvard called the Delphic Club. Matt Damon was part of that club. Jack Lemmon was part of that club. If you notice, Jack Lemmon went to Andover High School. So you have him there. And then you have him part of the Delphic Club. JP Morgan, American banker and finance executive, was part of that. This guy, Aga Khan, the fifth, he is the current, it says current imam of the Nizari Islam. So, you know, whatever, something over in the Middle East. So Michael D. Cavallo, British financier, former Olympic skier. And one thing I also found, a lot of like Olympic athletes went to all these high schools. So I'm like, whoa. So a lot of these Olympic athletes that got a chance to become in the Olympics stars and all this stuff, I see a lot of that going on. And also part of these secret societies. You're going to see Olympic athletes. You're going to see football players. Oh, here's what I wanted to tell you. You sent me the Tennessee one. What were they called? Remember you sent me the text message on the Tennessee.
I'm horrible at the pronunciations.
It's okay. It's okay. Hold on. I'm going to pull it up really quick because I thought it was fascinating because
it's like the
Scarabeans.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're okay. So you sent me this thing, and this is insane. I was like, okay, perfect. So you sent me the message, and it was talking about Tennessee University. And I immediately thought of Peyton Manning when you said that. I was like, Peyton Manning, I wonder if he's part of that secret society. I looked it up. Sure enough, Peyton Manning, the Super Bowl champion, he was part of the I think called the Pirates of the Scarabeans, I guess they're called. If you guys look it up, it's it's like they're like comparative to like the Skull and Bones, right? So yeah, so I just thought that was interesting when you sent that to me. I don't mean to jump off subject, but I just noticed, like, I immediately thought of Peyton Manning, and then he ends up being on the list of people part of that secret society. Yeah. So we have another one we have is Columbia. It's called the Order of Axe and Coffin. You guys can look into that. I can't find anybody alumni. They're not allowing me to look that up, right? Dartmouth University has 10 secret societies. That's another one of the elite Ivy League universities. The 10 secret societies they have, one of them is called Osiris. One of them is called the Phoenix. Other one's called the Pyexis, Order of the Sirens, the Griffin, the Fire and Skull, Dragon, the Sphinx. So think about all these names. Osiris, that's the sun god, and if you look at a lot of the stuff that the Freemasons do is like worshiping that, that type of Egyptian sun worship and all that stuff, right? So the dragon, who's the dragon in the Bible? The dragon is the devil, right? So that they got the dragon, the fire and skull. All the names are like all evil names. The Phoenix, okay? So and a lot of these secret societies that at Dartmouth, it was hard to find information on, but we have the Sphinx. It was founded in 1885. It's the oldest of the they said there was 14 official senior societies. That's all in Hanover, New Hampshire. So that's all in that same area, right? The Dragon Society is another one, and I don't have. Okay, so I have a few of that one. The Dragon has the CEO of General Electric. Also has Paul Killenbrew. I don't know who that gentleman is, but yeah, they just have a few that they don't really allow me to look a lot into the alumni, or else I would tell you guys more big names. But then we have another big school that everybody's heard of. It's Princeton, and they have the Ivy Club. Woodrow Wilson, United States president, was part of that. Lawrence Rockefeller, which you guys hear the Rockefeller name, is a philanthropist, environmentalist. Bill Ford, which is the CEO and of the Ford Motor Company. Just a whole bunch of names. James A. Baker III, Chief of Staff for Ronald Reagan, Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of State for George W. Bush. And then also you have the Cottage Club. You guys can look into that. I'm not finding alumni on that either. Penn State, they also have Skull and Bones too. Wesleyan has Skull and Serpent, Mystical 7. Oxford, this one was pretty interesting. This is one I brought up on the show because, man, Oxford was a big one for the notable members were a lot of like royal elite, right? So Oxford is Oxford University. They have the Gridiron Club is what they're called, and they have their notable members was like John Le Creux, Alexander the Seventh, Lord Michael Pratt, former Secretary of Grid, and Prime Minister David Cameron. University of Cambridge has a club too. Wait, what does it say? Where's the one that I wanted to show you guys where it had all these royal elites? I'm sorry. Let's see. Black nobility. Okay, so this is going to be, it's called the Pitt Club. There we go. Sorry. The Pitt Club has the notable elites that they had was Edward IV of the United States Kingdom of Great Britain. They have Prince Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence of Avondale, George IV, which was of the United States. He was actually the king of Britain. King Charles III was also involved in that one, of the United of Great Britain and the Northern Ireland academics. So that's called the Pitt Club, and that was part of the University Pitt Club. It was the University of Cambridge. Okay. So look at Cambridge University. You're going to find a lot of royalty. And sorry, my notes there's so many notes here, guys. I'm trying to go through. Sometimes it skips back up. So
you're doing great.
You're gonna find there's royalty and notable members from Cambridge of Black nobility and European elite. And when you find that, you're finding Black nobility. When you find that, you know that those secret societies are massive for the British Empire and everything up there, or Europe, So yeah, so that's all we have on that. There's a lot of politicians too you're going to find in Britain that also was part of the Pitt in Cambridge. I don't want to go through all of them because I don't think anybody in America is going to recognize their names. Actors, also journalists, same type of thing. Clerics, which are like clergymen, you're going to find them. And then I already told you guys about the University of Pennsylvania, the Friars. That's one I brought up on the show because I was like, dang, let's look up Joe Biden, the 46th president of the United States, was a Friars honorary member. Okay. So, and who else do we have? We have news anchors, award-winning actresses, Elizabeth Banks, a bunch of different people that are congressmen of Tennessee. 45th governor, Ed Rendell of Pennsylvania, 98th mayor of the city of Philadelphia, David Montgomery, the owner and the CEO of the Philadelphia Eagles. He was also a friar. So you have football players, people that are like heads of football teams, former president of the University of Pennsylvania, all these people that are high up in power end up being part of the friars, right? Which is a secret society in Pennsylvania. So that's just another example of that. And then I just randomly, this is the last one I'm going to go through, but I just randomly looked up, like, I was like, dang, let me look up these universities. I saw the University of Georgia, and I found the Gridiron Secret Society, and I was like, let me see who was part of this. So Jimmy Carter was the president of the United States. He was part of it. And then also I saw Bryant Kemp, who's the current governor of Georgia. He's also was part of the Gridiron Society. So it just all connects together. It's crazy. It's a giant rabbit hole.
Wow.
And I appreciate you letting me go through all of them. So
Absolutely. But that just brings up a good point, right? We should stop defying people by their party lines or their public beliefs of what they say when they're on TV getting asked questions. And we should start saying, what secret societies did these people grow up going through from, or high schools, That's what we should be looking into. And we'll have a better idea of, what side somebody plays on than this fake political theater that we have going on every day shoved down our throats.
yeah, find out. Well, anybody you hear in history, there's a reason why that they became a prominent name, right? So the
Yes.
people that were in the 1500s or somebody, or like 1800s, or somebody that you find that's they say super smart, they're not any smarter than we are today. You know what I mean? Everybody has a brain. So you're going to hear these people's names because they were probably prominent members of a secret society, and they were allowed to, because what it is when you hear a name like Copernicus, or you hear a name like Albert Einstein, or you hear a name like any of these names, they're going to be those names are going to be in history usually for a long time. So what do they give? They give, like, you're going to be eternally named, right? So some people will sell their soul for that because they want to have that, right? Some people, they'll die by the age of 27 just to be famous, right? They want to be that famous name. They think they can live on forever. Kobe Bryant, or all these people, right? So I look into every name you find. When somebody's name is famous for a certain thing, look into them and find out if they're a occultist, find out if they're a Christian. Because if you're going to follow their doctrine, you better find out what was the real foundation. If they were like a Gnostic, agnostic, Freemason, Jesuit, any of those things, you don't want to be following that person's thing, because there's an agenda behind it. Like when I talk about flat Earth, the Copernicus model, there's an agenda behind that. Copernicus, he didn't want to put it out. He was Jesuit trained. He was a Catholic priest. Then the Catholic Church grabbed it and put it out. You know what it did is it changed the Gregorian calendar, or they turned it into the Gregorian calendar. Sorry, from the Julian calendar, which is the Jewish calendar, into the Gregorian calendar. And we don't even know what day is Passover. We don't, there's a lot of agendas behind these things that we don't see. So once you start studying them and you're like, wow, now I don't just take a name and just accept it. I find out what secret society they were part of, if they're an occultist. And then sometimes you'll read like, oh, this person was a minister. You're like, oh, he was a minister. Oh, he's good. No. Look even deeper. He was a Scottish minister. Oh, okay, Scottish. What do I think of when I think of Scotland? I think of the Scottish Rite Freemasons, right? So there was a theory that came out in the Bible called the gap theory. This is just an example. And I was looking up who started the gap theory, and I found out he was a Scottish Rite Freemason, and he was a minister. So that's just an example. When you hear stuff in history, study the people as far back as you could get, and then find out what they were about. So that if you're going to be I'm an evolutionist, I'm a theistic evolutionist, find out what Charles Darwin was about. Find out where that theory came from. It came from a 33-degree Mason, his grandpa, right? And then it went to him, and he spread it out. And then on his deathbed, they said that he regretted it, right? But people are following evolution to the ends of time. They're going to fight for it. The Big Bang Theory, as Christians, are going to fight for it. That's also a Jesuit, George Lamontre, Big Bang Theory. So those are just examples, guys, of how the Illuminati infiltrates our minds and education, and it all connects together. So thank you for letting me present that. I think that was everything that I wanted to go over. And if you want to go down the rabbit hole, just look up secret societies in high school, look up secret societies in college, and you will find that there's actually, and look up the ones that actually are accepted by Skull and Bones, not the fraternities. Those are going to go, those are like fraternities. Yeah, those are kind of like secret societies, but they're not the ones that I'm talking about. The ones I'm talking about are 10 elite seniors that get tapped and brought into the secret society.
I think it's fascinating too, just going through this because, and I love your example about, pastors and ministers and just that front. A lot of the survivors that I've had on my show that suffered through satanic ritual abuse or MK Ultra as children, they had a father figure or grandfather that was the head of a church.
Yeah.
So again, we have to stop judging people on their public persona, and we have to stop judging people on just a resume of what's thrown out to us and say, what aren't they telling us? That's great if that's who they are in public, but who are they in private? Who are they when nobody's looking? What are they doing? What oaths do they abide by? Who are they protecting? What other things are they involved in? Who are they connected with? We're so conditioned to do the opposite. And I think that really does start from the time that we're small, with looking at, people who are going to these elite schools and saying, oh man, I wish I was them. Or a parent saying, oh, I wish I could afford to put my children in those schools. Like it's so ingrained in us to just admire people who call themselves elite in any type of way because of a degree, or they're, the head of a church, whatever it is. And we really do need to get better at saying, okay, that's their resume. What's not on their resume that they do in their spare time? And this really showcases what we aren't told about all the people that we're idolizing and worshiping and watching for their entire career. Some football coaches have been coaching their team for a decade, and people worship them, not ever saying, are they in a secret society? And they should be saying that instead of how many football games and Super Bowls have they won?
Well, look at the Super Bowl in general, as we're ending. Look what they do after the Super Bowl. They take this big idol, they bring it down. People have played their whole entire lives just to get that Super Bowl trophy. They take the Super Bowl trophy and everybody kisses it, and they're just worshiping this. There's like 30 million or 100 million people watching the Super Bowl at one time. They have all these ads where they could just indoctrinate you. They put it on a Sunday, right? The Sunday SUN, like people are basically watching football that days instead of going to church. I'm not saying that church should be on Sunday or Saturday. I'm just saying that a lot of the churches are on Sunday, and then they also have a football on Thursday nights. If you look at most churches, the Bible studies are usually on Thursday nights. So the men, when you drink, you're not going to want to go to church. You're going to be too condemned. So what they do is they get the men to be attached to the TV watching football instead of being attached to the Bible and studying God. So that's just an example of it. But you're definitely right. Study these people. Don't take and don't stop when you're researching at they're a minister, because then George Bush's grandfather, the one that started I think one of the secret societies I mentioned, I don't want to go back to my notes, but he was also a minister. So you see that, and he's part of a secret society. If you're a 33-degree Mason and you're a minister, you can't worship two gods. You can only worship one. You can't have 1 foot in evil, 1 foot in good. You can only be 100% one way or 100% the other. If you're 50 and 50, you're not part of God, because you have that evil in you. So you got to make sure that these people are righteous. And find out ask your pastor, are you a Freemason? There was a lady you had on that was going to judges and asking, are you a Freemason? And she would change the case because she knows that guy's not making judgment from a Christian point of view or from a absolute truth point of view. He's making his point of view through a Freemasonry. So if one of the clients happens to be part of the Freemasons and he's a Freemason, you're not going to have a good judgment there, So I thought that was a great episode that you had, and I thought that was awesome that she does that. What a smart lawyer, super smart lawyer. Are you a Freemason? Yes. All right, I'd like a different counsel. Like, wow, what a smart lady, because she understands. A lot of people don't research and have no clue how the world is ran. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. I talked to Gary Wayne, and I was like, that's how it is, man. Once you see it, you can never unsee it. And if you choose to go deeper and write a book about it, then hey, all power to you. Or if you choose to make a podcast like we do and try to expose it, then all power to you,
Absolutely. And that's why I love your podcast. And for people listening, I'm going to link Josh's original episode that I watched on his show in the show notes. Go watch that too. It was really cool. He had his brother and another guest on there, and they had a really awesome, wholesome conversation. Very, very enlightening. So I'll link that for you guys. And Josh, where else can people connect with you on social? And with
Social media, it's Josh Monday _ podcast is my Instagram. And then if you go to YouTube, it's Josh Monday Music and Podcast. But my actual show is called Josh Monday Christian and Conspiracy Podcast. So if you go to Spotify, you can find my music too. Just put Josh Monday, Spotify. I have taken a break from doing music at the moment just because I'm doing the podcast and I'm not really feeling the need to. Because sometimes when you rap, it's not the same as when you like sing for God. You know, when you rap, a lot of it is about like trying to come up with the most spectacular words and try to look. It's like too much. I don't know how to put it. Too much ego involved in rap, so I just kind of took a step back from it. But you can listen to the songs I do have. You know, there's like 9 or 10 of them out, and but my podcast, so you can look it up on Spotify, Apple, or any of the major ones, or look it up on YouTube under Josh Monday Music and Podcast.
And for people listening, Josh is an admin on our Telegram channel, Stand By Survivors. So if you want to connect with him directly or send him something, you can find him in that channel too. He's awesome. And please go follow him on all platforms. It helps us as creators to have just even that one subscribe, just that one like, you know, that one comment, because these aren't topics that are going to be naturally elevated by any algorithms. We're so suppressed. So your participation in supporting us really helps us be seen, you know, and helps validate what we're doing. So I encourage you guys, I'm going to link all of that below. And Josh, is there anything else that you want to close with before we wrap up for today?
Well, we had a really good Flat Earth from a biblical perspective roundtable that's going to come out. What's today? Today's Monday. Okay, it's going to come out. I'm going to have to put it out actually soon. I got to put that out. It's going to be coming out today. So I don't know when this show's coming out, but it's going to be coming out on a Monday. So yeah, should be awesome show. You guys can check it out. And I got Gary Wayne and a couple other people that came on, and we got some good guests lined up for January as well. Derek Gilbert's going to come on and a few other guys. So yeah, check it out. And
Lisa Meister is going to be on your show, which people listening know Lisa. Lisa's going to be joining Josh for an episode too, which will be really cool.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So yeah, so thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it. And God bless every one of you.
God bless you, Josh. And people listening, again, go support Josh. Say prayers for him, you know, lift him up in prayer. Oh my gosh, my dog. Hold on.
It's okay. Yeah, so all right.
Sorry, dog was just totally barking. I'll edit.
It happens.
But anyways, go support Josh, support his work. Josh, thank you so much for everything that you do. And for everybody listening, thank you guys for supporting. God bless you all, and we will see you next week.